Hi, my name is Usman, and in today's video training of Python, we will be looking at a very interesting concept of try except. The try block lets you test a block of code for errors. The except block lets you handle the error, and the finally block lets you execute code regardless of the result of the try and except blocks. Let's look at exception handling concept. When an error occurs, or exception as we call it, Python will normally stop and generate an error message. These exceptions can be handled using the try statement. The try block will generate an exception because X is not defined. Let's see this in action. Let's create a project file for this video training. So let's create Python exception.py, and let's say we have the try block first, try print x, and we have the except block print and exception has occurred. Okay. Now save the program, go back to the console, and let's run the program Python exception. You see we have got an exception on the console output saying an exception has occurred because X is undefined and we tried to print the value of X. That's why an exception occurred. Since the try block raises an error, the except block will be executed. Without the try block, the program will crash and raise an error. This statement will raise an error because X is not defined. You can define as many exception blocks as you want. For example, if you want to execute a special block of code for a special kind of error, print one message if the try block raises a name error and another for other errors. So let's see this in action. Let's comment this code, and I say simple try exception block code. Okay, let's create another one, try print x, and we say except, and we catch the name error, and we say print variable x is not defined, and then we have except block print something else went wrong. Let's save the program, go back to the console, and run it again. You see we have got a message on the console that says variable x is not defined because we have caught an exact exception, which is a name error exception, and we printed the error message on the console. And the last block was to catch all exceptions other than the name error exceptions. So this way you can chain your exceptions in your code to catch as many exceptions as you want. Now let's look at the else part that you can chain with the try except block. You can use the else keyword to define a block of code to be executed if no errors were raised. In this example, the try block does not generate any error. Let's see this in action. Let's save this. This example is for many exceptions example, and let's comment this out, and let's print hello, and except, let's say something went wrong, and then we have the else block and print nothing went wrong. Save the code and go back to the console, run the program. You see we have got hello and then we have nothing went wrong. Basically the else part executed because the try block didn't generated any error. So let's say if I try to print a value of x which is undefined, run the program again, you see we have got something went wrong because the try block generated an exception and the except part was executed. So you can use else if everything goes well, and else is executed if exception didn't work out. Let me call this example of using else block with try except block. Okay, the next thing we have is the finally block. The finally block, if specified, will be executed regardless if the try block raises an error or not. This can be useful to close objects and clean up resources. Let's see the action, and let's say we have finally block example, and let's create a try catch block, and let's say we have x print x, and we have except, we have print something went wrong, and then we have the finally block, and we say finally we are here. Save the file, go back to the console, run the program again. You see we have caught the exception and we printed out something went wrong, and the finally block executed regardless of an error in our try catch block. Another example of a finally block is if we are trying to open and write to a file that is not writable, then exception is raised, but if we use the finally block, we will be able to close the file in any case. So that is a practical example of, you can say, in the real world example, which can make a very useful benefit of finally block. As a Python developer, you can choose to throw an exception if a condition occurs. To throw or raise an exception, use the raise keyword. Raise an error and stop the program if x is lower than 0. So let's say x is equal to -1. If x is less than 0, raise exception. Let's see this in action. Example to raise an exception. I say x equal to -1, and I say if x is less than 0, and we can say raise, it is raise exception, sorry, no numbers below 0. Let's save this file, run the program. You see we have got an output on the console that says exception, sorry, no numbers below 0, and we forcefully raised an exception. You can see the Python have mentioned the line number, and it mentioned the raise exception line that we mentioned in our program. So we can forcefully raise an exception in our program to break the execution of the program due to a fatal error or any other important execution. You can define what kind of error to raise and the text to print to the user. To raise a type error if x is not an integer, let's run this example. Example raise an exception if variable is not an integer. So let's define a variable. Let's say hello. We say if x not if not type x is int, raise exception, raise type error, only integers are allowed. Save the program, go back to the console and run the program. You see we have raised a type error, only integers are allowed. So this is all about try catch exceptions and finally block, and how you can raise exception through the code block. This is all for this video training in Python. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you next time with a new topic in Python. Till then, bye.